Yep, so we're introducing you today to Robbie, our 1966 VW split screen camper. Absolutely classic. He's a dormobile conversion, which means he's got two bumps in the roof for kids. So Robbie's pretty rare as a splitty in that he can sleep four. First thing we're going to say about Robbie is the insurers are very keen to say if the keys are left in the van unattended, he's not insured. So make sure you keep them on you whenever you go off. Okay. So, Robbie, like all of our vans, apart from Maisie, has got a lot of keys gained over the years. First of all, we've got one that's a funny shape and quite thin, and that's the ignition key. It goes in with the tab pointing down when you put it in the ignition. Next up, we've got one which is very similar, but a bit more square, and that is his door key. It will do the cab doors and the tailgate. There's a right and a wrong way around to put it in the lock, so if you have it with the tab pointing to the back like that, and that should be able to unlock and lock. You'll find you get it right half the time, and that's unlocked again. Finally, the one that's a bit rounded is just his side door. It's what we call the cargo door, and again there's a right and a wrong way around for putting that in. So it goes in there, and that will be locked, and pointing to the back is unlocked. When you're unlocking it, it will go down to there, but it's still shut. Pull it the rest of the way and it's on a clip. But always make sure you put the handle up for travelling, for security, because it puts little bolts in the top and bottom of the door, and also you'll need it level before you can lock it. There's one last key, and that's this petrol key, and we don't keep that on the budge. It's hiding near the driver's seat on a little clip, and it's not like any other key you've ever seen before. It's what you call a church key. It's got a square cross section on the end of it, and it simply goes in the little hole on the fuel filler cap. Move the flap, put that in there. You can see how worn away this is, so it's a bit of a faff. Just put it in, press on, turn it, put your finger behind there, and you should be able to leave that open. And then the fuel filler itself is simply a twist off. When you're filling it up, you'll find it'll click off way before the tank's full. There's a bit of a bend in the pipe, so you may find you have to lift it halfway out and wait till you get several clicks on the petrol pump, and then it should be full enough. Even though you know you've filled it up, you'll find when you get in and put the ignition on that the fuel gauge doesn't go right to the top. Put the ignition on, turn it on, and if you get that fuel gauge showing 3/4, that's full. It's slightly low at the moment because we're on a slope here, but 3/4 or just below 3/4 on the gauge is full enough when you bring it back. We send the van out full of petrol, bring it back filled up, and I'll be showing you on your test drive where you can fill it up very close by to us. We'll put the fuel filler cap key away, and while we're there I'll show you what's behind the seat. So first of all, spare wheel, which hopefully you're never going to need. It's a map book, some jump leads, spare tools, socket set, first aid kit, and an emergency lamp there as well. And there's a fire extinguisher just at the side on the driver's side as well. This one will also do the tailgate. If it's locked, it'll go in like that and unlock it. Just press the button, put your fingers underneath. And the trick with the tailgate is always, it's got fairly new seals on here, and when you come to shut it, you'll probably find it sticks out. Be firm and check with your fingers that it's actually secured. Okay, so that's keys. Next thing we're going to show you is plugging Robbie into the electric. If you're on a campsite with mains electric, you can plug him in and your main sockets will work inside the van then. I've got a demonstration cable. And on Robbie, this goes in the engine bay. There's no lock on this, just pop the catch, lift it up till it clicks, it's held up there, and then this simply goes on the blue socket in the van, like that. Robbie's own cable is in a grey bag underneath his back seat in the van. This one just stays with us. As soon as you've connected that up, there's a little sign in the cab, which I'll show you now. will either be just tucked in here or in the door pocket. Always, the moment you've connected him up to the mains, take that, stick it on the steering wheel, and then you don't feel like a total wally by driving off with an orange tail behind you. So that's keys and hook up. Okay, so side doors, handle down there, it's still shut, press it there and you can open the door. There's no door stays, so these can just blow around in the wind, and while I'm showing you around the van, I'm going to do a crude but effective bungee cord around the handle on the inside and just gently hook that up under the wheel arch to save it blowing in the wind. The other door doesn't have a handle on the outside. On the inside, the handle's pointing straight up when the door is shut. Move it to there, it pulls the little bolts out of the top and the bottom of the doors, and we can open that. Again, just be gentle with the doors, it'll rest on the bumper stops nicely there, but if the wind catches it, you can find that these doors can catch together and it tends to knock the paint off here. So a little bit of care is appreciated, please. Okay, into Robbie. And I mentioned before, Robbie's quite a rare doormobile conversion on a split screen van, which means we can lift the roof up. When you've got the roof down, just be aware, mind your head on the roof catches. These skylights are great for letting a bit of heat out. To open them, just twiddle the black knob there, push that up, and then lets all the steam out. When you come to shut it, it's not an over centre thing. Again, just needs a little bit of gentle. Just pop it down till it's resting against the seals and simply tighten up the black knob until it's not going to come up. These are really fragile, so make sure they're closed before you drive anywhere. They won't be able to stand the sheer power of Robbie rushing through the atmosphere at 30 miles an hour. So always have those closed when you're travelling. The roof itself is held down with these 50-year-old vinyl straps. And because they're 50-year-old vinyl straps, we've put on a not very old modern strap to make sure that roof isn't going to come up. So we need to release that, squeeze the catch, pull the strap through and just take that off. We can take the old original strap off, and then there's one at the back too. Now at the back, the original strap is a real faff to get onto the catch, so we're not even going to bother, and we've simply got the modern catch here holding it down. So this strap, squeeze the buckle and just pull that out of the way. Once that's released, you can get hold of the grey bar. So now that we've released the roof straps, we just get hold of the grey bar and simply lift it up and wait till it clicks. And you'll hear the back strut click first, and then push on the one at the front and you hear it click again. And now we go back to the back one, hold the grey bar, squeeze the catch and let it go up a bit more, and puts more tension on the roof. Okay, with that, the roof's cantilevered with some springs, so it's not difficult to put up and down. It's really, really clever. So now the roof's up, we've got two bunks in the roof of Robbie, and they're held behind these ancient covers. These catches simply turn, lift that off, work your way along those. And once the cover's free, take that over the top, and then you can unwrap the bunk canvas. There's two bars here. Lift up on the one nearest to you, and then bring it back over. Fantastic. So kids love being in them. You can see it's wider at the back end of the van and tapered, so at the front end of the van is where you put your feet. And there's one over the doors as well. I won't bother pulling that one out. It leaves a gap between, so from below, kids that are big enough can step onto the buddy seat. They can step up by the kitchen unit and climb in, or if it's smaller children, just simply give them a boost up into the bunk there. So putting the bunk away, really easy. Just lift up the front edge, put it over, wrap the canvas round, and then you can bring the cover back over. Now the cover's got an extension on it. I think they were made for going around blankets originally. Just tuck that away, and we'll go back to the very, very faded bit. And fasten those back in. So that's the upstairs bunks. Downstairs we've got a big bed that makes up into the boot space. It's what they call a rock and roll bed. It's nothing to do with driving a Rolls Royce into a swimming pool. It's simply the mechanism. It's like a sofa bed. So before we can rock and roll, we need to get rid of the seat belts. Push the buckle catches down out of the way, and you'll find that the straps will fight the curtains. The vans weren't built with seat belts or curtains originally, and everything tends to get snarled up a bit, so just take a bit of care as you're doing things and you'll find it'll be freed up okay. On the driver's side of the van, when we rock and roll, we're going to find that the table is fouling it, so remove the table, just pop that down, reach around the back and find a black strap. And if you remember to pop that out, it's going to make things easier for you when you come to make it back into a seat. Once that's out, seat belt's out of the way, simply get hold of the handles at the front edge and pull. I'm just going to turn, hopefully you can see, lift it up and do that. Simples. And you can make your bed up into the back there. It's really comfy. At the sides there's little lockers. We tend to stuff clothes into those when we're away, but there's nothing in those at the moment. And if you have a blanket or a single duvet, you can unfold onto the bottom and you're not slipping around on the vinyl. That works really well. And just chuck your other duvet or your sleeping bags over the top. This is where, if you've remembered to put your little black strap out, it saves you scrabbling your fingers under the edge of the seat. Just put a finger through the strap, lift that up a bit, lift the front edge of the seat, and it goes back in with a bump. Really easy to do. While we're at it, underneath this seat, if I lift that up, got a little stick to help me. This is the hookup cable we mentioned earlier, and if your hookup's connected, your main sockets will work, and if your main sockets work, you can use the fan heater. But things with the main sockets will only work if you're on a campsite which has got electric hookup. Other things to help you keep warm, we've got screens for the windows. These have all got suckers on the back, and there's a set. The odd ones are all labelled up, so we've got one there saying tailgate, goes on the inside of the windows at night, and if you just wet the suckers, stick them on the windows and then draw the curtains, you'll find it keeps it nice and snug. You will find some of those suckers will probably give up in the night, but on the whole they work really well. The window screens without labels on are all the little square windows, and we don't put one on where the stickers are here. Because that one's next to the cooker, and just from a fire safety point of view, we don't put a screen on that window. Up in the roof windows, they don't make screens for these, so we've adapted a long one, and you can see it says roof window, add another square one, so we take the one that would have gone by the cooker and we stick one of those on there, and then the other one will fill in the space next to it there, and that keeps kids in the roof happy. Hiding out underneath the seat, underneath the screens, there's a bag there. I'm not going to pull it out, but in that bag there's a TV, flat screen TV with a built-in DVD player, and you can sit that on the worktop and plug it into the mains if you're on the hookup, or into the 12-volt sockets if you're not. You'll also find an umbrella and a picnic blanket, so we can cover all kinds of weather. And also, while we've got the seat up, you can see we've got the table leg here. Pull that out of the clip, pop the pole in the hole, and then you can take the tabletop, put a bracket on the bottom, simply locate that onto the pole, do it by feel, and that fills the space. Now it's always, the table is in the way, so it's the last thing you do once you've got everything out ready to cook, but you can just twizzle it round if you're trying to get past the seat. To take it off, you might just need to pull the hole, pull the pole, wiggle that off, give that a little twist, and goes into place. tabletop. When you're putting the seat down, after you've rock and rolled, these brackets are the ones that rest on the edge to make it up into the bed. Always make sure you've left a space under there for these to go down. What you don't want is the TV screen sitting just underneath that bracket as you go down, otherwise you'll have a £300 crunch. Once we're finished with the bed, if we're off for driving, you can fish the seat belts out again. Just reach down to find the buckles. Got 3-point belts on the sides in Robbie. Got a lap belt in the middle. If you find the seat belts have gone behind the seat, sometimes it's easiest just to find the buckle behind the seat, pull it out, bring it over and slot the belt round rather than trying to push the buckle through. And that seat belt's back in. Okay. Up at the back, got a really handy locker. Press the button, release the catch, fold that down. There's not very much in here, there's a lot of space. But what there is in here is Robbie's instruction book. Now by this stage usually people have glazed over, so in here you'll find everything from which key does what through to where the petrol gauge constitutes full, how the roof catches work, how the bed works, how the gas works, and so on. And at the end of all that, there's our phone number, so if you get stuck with anything and there's no answers in there or on the video, just give us a ring. You'll also find Robbie's got a camping club pack in here. You'll have noticed on the keys there was a little blue fob. If you're on a camping and caravanning club campsite, Robbie's a member and you can take advantage of getting membership rates on the campsites. It saves you about £7.50 a night, so it's worth having. If you're booking your campsite, you can't do it online if you want to get the saving. You need to phone them and tell them that you're a member of the privilege scheme, and it's on there. And if you say the van you're hiring is a member of the privilege scheme, they will give you the member rates, and then when you get to the campsite they'll ask you to show you the little sticker in the van or the key fob, one or the other, just to prove that the van's a member. Also up in the top locker, there's a bag with all the bits for the TV, the remote control, the power supply, and an aerial there, and so on. Press the button. Moving round, we've got a light up in the top, which is great for filling the whole van with light at night. It's a little bit harsh, it's a strip light, and it's not very soothing, so Robbie's also got his mood lighting, and there's a little red switch on a red background. Press that down and it brings his little lights on. Now they don't look much in the daylight, but at night they're nice when you're sitting there with a cocoa, you just want to chill down a bit, they're perfect. The only problem is when you're in bed you can't reach the light to turn it off. You can reach this one, but you can't reach that. So next to the little red one there we've got a green switch, lights master switch. If you press that off it'll knock off all the lights, including the one for the cab as well. In the morning don't forget to put that back on again, or the following evening you'll find your lights don't work. On to cooking on gas. We're going to cook on gas, we're going to burn things in a small space. First of all, make sure you've got some ventilation. So the window next to the cooker, pull the catch. If it won't open easily, just push in the top corner and click that open. Always make sure you've no curtains across. And again, we mentioned before, we don't want a screen on that window for the same reason. Another thing from a safety point of view, we don't want gas leaking out while you're driving. So we always turn the gas off at the gas bottle for driving, and I'll show you how to get to that next. Go to the buddy seat, lift up the lid, bring the bin out, move the kettle out of the way, and you can see the gas. And on here I've got a black knob and it's turned off. So fully open it anti-clockwise. So we've got the gas on. In the tub here you'll find a gas lighter. This doesn't shoot flames, it just clicks sparks. Press the knob in and turn it so that the big flame lines up with the little bulb there, and give that a click. And it's hard to see in daylight again, but the gas is on. Just keep it down for about 5-10 seconds, and once you let go then it should stay lit. The thermocouple gets hot enough to keep it on. You can turn it down to a little flame there to simmer. Again, be careful because you can't see it. Back up past full flame and back to off there. And then once the thermocouple shuts down, it should shut off the gas supply, but we're belt and braces, so always make sure when you're not using it, turn that off. Just screw that all the way in. This grid on the cooker rattles like mad when you're driving, so once it's cooled down, before you go out for a drive, I recommend taking that off and popping it with the pans and things underneath the seat there. So that's cooking on gas. If the gas cylinder runs out, you find it's taking 10 minutes to boil the kettle or something like that, then you might be running out of gas. In which case we need to take everything out of the way, move this tub, take that out, take the water canister out and pull the gas cylinder forward. I'm just going to show you how to change the cylinder. Lift it forward, there's a long pipe, make sure it's turned off there, and then to take the cylinder off, just hold the regulator and unscrew it. It should be empty. If you can hear anything sloshing around, it's not empty yet, so don't change it, but if you hear nothing when you do that, it'll be empty. You can unscrew the gas bottle from the regulator. I'm not going to do it now because we'll get gas everywhere because this one's full. Behind this one, there's another one hiding there full. Bring that one out, take your empty one, put the little handle off the top onto your empty one, put the empty one away first, then attach your new cylinder to the regulator. When you're doing it, just make sure you don't get it cross-threaded. Check before you wind it on. If it's resisting, just undo it and try it again, and it should go on nice and easily. When you put a full cylinder onto this regulator, you'll get an escape of gas, so you're always doing it with the doors open, and then just keep winding until it's tight. And that's your new cylinder on, you can pop that back into place. And then very important, when you come back with the van, always tell me that there's an empty cylinder sitting there, so I don't send Robbie out with an empty cylinder hiding at the back and let the next people down. Back in there. Next to the gas cylinders you can see the blue box. Robbie's got gas heating in, and the only thing I'm going to tell you about the gas heating is that you're not allowed to use it, sorry. It sounds really mean, but we do weddings in cold weather, and we have brides who are wearing something lacy, and it could be February, so we've got gas heating that we can use in the vans to keep them warm, but we don't have it certificated for camping use, so I'm afraid we're not telling you how to use that, and in fact the fuse is pulled so you can't use it. Pop everything back in there. There's some Keswick tap water in the thing there, it's not mineral water, so you can change it every time you go out and fresh. You'll find there's spare bin bags underneath inside the bin, and in the tub here all the things that rattle you find: pots and pans, frying pan, sieve, thermostats for keeping your hot water warm, heat mat to protect our worktop, and there's even a rack for making toast around the burners because Robbie doesn't have a grill. Last thing under the seat, you can see we've got water. Now, as well as the water just in that water carrier, we've got this tank that's fixed up to Robbie's tap, and the tap operates from pressing this little red button on the panel. Always make sure you've got water in the tank before you press the button so it doesn't damage the pump. Press that and it will pump through. The plug on there is simply on a hose pipe that goes down and onto the ground under the van. So we only really use the sink for filling up the kettle. We don't use it for making dirty washing up in there. Go and use the campsite facilities for that. And we don't want things like tuna or milk draining down the sinkhole, if you can help it please, otherwise the van's going to smell. So just clean water in there, but it is really handy and it's a bit of fun as well. Make sure you've got water in the tank as I mentioned, and if there isn't water in the tank, you can fill it up by simply hold this, hard to do when it's full. There's a pipe going into the top of the canister. Now that top is open, so to make sure it's not sloshing everywhere while you're driving, don't fill it up beyond that 3/4 mark there. Once it's got water in it, you can put the pipe back into there. It's got a little filter on the end, and that feeds to the pump, and just simply feed that in, and there's a little blue mat for it to grip on. You can just slide that back into place and push it back, and it won't move. It'll sit onto that mat and stay put. You can also find cleaning things behind there, brush, dustpan and so on. We're onto the home straight now. Top back on the buddy seat. So we've got lights that work off the leisure battery in the van, we've got the little pump that works off the leisure battery, and we've also got a 12-volt socket there. And you can plug things in, anything that's got a normal in-car kind of thing. And one thing we do have in particular is the cool box. We've gone over to these rather than the fridge style ones because they keep the cold air in better, and we'll be sending it out to you with a couple of ice packs frozen in the bottom so it'll be nice and cold. And we've got 2 leads here. If we simply take the in-car one, plug that into there, and that will start running, and that's off the battery. Now it's off the leisure battery in the van, and it's the one thing that's going to flatten your battery. The lights won't do much harm, but the cool box will. So only run the cool box off the battery while you're driving, because that way it won't flatten the battery. It's charging while you're driving. If you're onto a campsite, then instead of running it off the 12-volt, disconnect that one. You can plug it into the mains, either here or here. That's running off the hookup now, so there's no danger of you flattening your battery. Leisure batteries are a great thing, but if you flatten them, it kills them, and it costs us to change them. So please avoid flattening the leisure battery if you can help it at all. And the cool box is the thing that's going to do that. So that's running off the mains hookup now. You'll notice the other sockets in this one. There's a couple of USB things as well, so you can plug your phone chargers and things like that in. Again, they'll only work if you're hooked up to the mains though. Last things in the drawers, pushing up kit. Cutlery and utensils, chopping boards and things, and finally the heavy things are right at the bottom. You'll find the mugs, plates and so on, all in there. Okay, so now we know how to, it's very simple camping in Robbie. Basically, if you know how to make the bed up, if you know how to put a light on, if you know how to put the kettle on, you've got it covered. Everything else is just a bonus. So before we can go driving off anywhere, all the 6-year-old boys that come and look at Robbie say the first thing is, can we drive with the roof up? Please don't. So we're going to show you how to put the roof down next. With Robbie we need to put the roof down, we put the bunks away, we made sure there's no small children or toys up in the roof, and we click the first catch, which is one at the back. And if you remember, this has got 2 holes in it, so when you squeeze that one, it's not going to come down very far. Just let that relax, and then go to the front one. Again, just squeeze the catch and lower it down, and you'll hear it click on the back one again. Back to the back, release that, and now you can let the roof come down, and it won't come crashing down again. Let it come down to rest, step outside the van and tuck in, and the roof should sit down nicely. Now we want to go to the straps inside. So these were the modern straps that we're using, and you just squeeze that to be able to put the strap through for tightening them down like that. Squeeze it again to pull it out. So I find it easiest if you have the buckle like that. Get the strap, just put it round behind the bar that holds the roof up. Pop the buckle up to the top and take this 50-50, it will go straight through here, and it's going through the bunk mechanism. And get the pointy end and just put that through the buckle and have it just like hanging loose. And the reason I've got it hanging loose is we want to do the back one before we tighten that up. So again, I've got the buckle, get the strap, pass it round the roof strap. I'll just lift the roof a bit to make life easier. Got the buckle at the top, at the pointy end, pop it down there, and I was saying it'd be 50-50 whether it goes through, and I got the first one through, so take 2 goes at the next one. Twist out of it, and then through the buckle. And now that we've got them both in and we've got the tucks in the outside, we can just run the buckle up to the top and pull it down. It doesn't have to be silly tight, just as long as it's holding. Do the front one, run the buckle up to the top, pull that down, tuck the strap away, and because the strap from the original one is there, we might as well put that on. But as I mentioned before, don't bother with the back one. And just check that the roof's held down. Next thing we need to do before we can drive off is not forget that hook up. Lift up the cap, just pull that straight off, and then you'll normally coil up your cable and go onto the back seat. You can remove the sticker off the steering wheel at that point. The door on this side goes in, and as you're shutting it, you're going to pull the handle up, but just put a hand against the side there to shut the door properly, and that way the bolts will go into the doors nice and easily, and we can get rid of the wingy cord, and you can lock it from there. Now there's no lock on the inside of these doors. It's converted from a panel van originally, and there was no reason to go inside and lock the door. So if you're bothered about that, you can simply get one of the straps from the roof, one of the little black straps, put it around the handles on the inside and just pull it tight. But nobody's going to sneak in there without you knowing about it. And put the strap away there. So that's how to be an expert camping in Rugby. Have a great time.